Unwind. This is terrible. The message is good, or maybe okay, but I can't get over how amazingly awful this is. I don't say that because there's some hidden detail that ruins the book. This story, by itself, is completely awful. I'm referring only to Unwind and not its sequels. At least there is upward progress there, right? I truly mean this as an avid reader that this is the single worst book I've ever read. Let me break it down. Plot. What plot? This story follows the cliché tale of the first teenage boy who decided, "No, today I won't be sacrificed for the heck of it." And wanders around the world, instantly bumping into his new best friend and also his love interest. In their world, abortion is bad, so they offer to kill teenagers and distribute their body parts as a solution to abortion. Then they find a rebel hideout that opposes the new rule, except they actually don't. They sit around with their thumbs up their collective asses, because teenagers here are not quick to action. A genuine twist in this novel. Finally, they were captured and dragged to the special prison, only to be freed by an astronomical coincidence. By the end, the bad guy is dead, the good guy is beloved by everyone, the girl is satisfied with the fact she did nothing, and the only character with any real character growth is probably going to be executed for treason. Not bad for a story where the only high point is when a moody teenage bad guy is dissected and murdered in real time. And yes, I mean murdered, they can't put him together again. He stopped breathing. He is clinically dead, you psychopaths. You can't justify someone's permanent disappearance, not without religion. This leads us to characters, they suck. I can't speak for every human of every race, gender, or age, but Shusterman has unsuccessfully represented all of them. Every moment where I thought, no parent would do this to their child, I knew I was right, to a point. Some people would do this to their children because the world is a dark place, but not as moronically dim as the book is attempting to paint. Try imagining the reasoning behind permanently removing the child you've literally wasted half of your life raising. People reach low points, but I wouldn't sell a car because it has a few dents, which means no one, and would agree with the logic behind killing teenagers to save fetuses. That's just the nameless faces. Obviously, the main characters are flawed, but this can be easily summed up in a sentence or two. Connor's too smart for someone whose life is defined by their anger issues. Levi is the only person with any real emotional changes or real impact on the story. What can I say about Risa? Cyrus should have been the main character, but I guess he's too brain damaged. Marcus cares too much to do so little. Roland is the perfect villain, but he operates like a cartoon villain, being foiled almost immediately each time. The Admiral is a sentient plot device, and when compared to Connor, that is saying something. Are these spoilers? I don't think so. Half of these characters aren't as deeply ingrained into the plot as you think. Makes me wish they would stop showing up at all. Prose and metaphors. I think average would be pushing it, but pretentious is definitely the word here. Not sure what the message is supposed to be here when it's forcefully shoved in my face. Is the displayed downsides to anti-abortion pretty deep? Yes. Is a law to sacrifice teenagers for the excuse of convenient medical supplies deep? Nope. That's barely messed up. That's completely stupid, and it's the first thing you see when you open the book. I don't have to mansplain every moment where basic reasoning and practical thought are sacrificed for the sake of creating a thoughtful story that makes you think hard with your brain about your life. The life you live with your life. I'm a pretty pessimistic person and I've seen some shit. And anyone who sees this story as a good read has admitted they've never considered how dark the world can be for children and teenagers. This is a story that's supposed to help kids understand what type of horrors are in the world we live in. But sadly, this series successfully managed to lean those horrors toward the far reaches of fiction, with ridiculous laws, irritatingly calm-mannered characters, and an incredibly unsatisfying ending. Which reminds me of why I'm so darn motivated to write a book review about this insane book. Plot holes. The worst part of any book, the part that makes every minute of the riveting plot feel like 2 hours of reading unfunny racist puns. To honor the spoiler-proof review, I will describe the type of plot hole. Also where it happens and who is in it. Spoiler 1. Now, right at the beginning of the book, you have to wonder what sort of future, male, single, intentionally radical, and medically positive politicians have the power to even endorse the new law, let alone enforce it somehow. 2. Also at the beginning, social media is apparently dead, now that there are fewer teenagers. Can't imagine what it would have been like before the law was enforced, and neither can the author. 3. This series is entirely centered on the protagonists, and not in a good way. The coincidences were one thing, but the idea that Connor or Levi are the first to do any of the basic things like attacking and escaping a police officer, that makes me want to spew chunks. For when new rules are established in response to the Unwind law, rules so dumb and borderline insane that the real story is what is even happening in Congress. 5. Everything is normal. The literary version of having your cake and eating it too is having an incredible story idea functioning without fault in a world that's literally the same as our own. 6. Naturally, when things go wrong, the consequences are small and meaningless to anybody else. I'm glad that heart attack thing was resolved so unrealistically. Sarcasm. 7. For the last time, if everyone has a problem with it, then there would statistically be one person doing something about it. And no, I don't mean Connor. 8. In a world full of cops hunting children, 2 truants wander the rails without ever getting caught. This insignificant side plot goes unimpeded by anything, even the main plot. 9. Strangely, some of my questions in this scene went unanswered. However, whenever I read it again, it makes less sense than before. I told myself this 3 times. 10. Not how biology works. Even in this twisted futureverse, the entire brain has to control body parts and memory. And I shouldn't have to explain that new body parts do not act independently whenever a feel-good moment happens. 11. If you walk up to a prison, they will let you in, no problem. Guess there aren't terrorists in this future. Good for them. Sarcasm. 12. Co-ed work camp prisons. For convenience. 13. Taser guns, bio-explosives, work camps. This series was really baby it up a bit, wasn't it? 14. What a sad scene. Good thing he was a bad guy. Could you imagine if it was the romance interest instead? Way too intense. 15. One boring climax later, what's that? Oh wow, they all survived? I had no idea. Sarcasm. 16. This actual prison seems less secure than the last, especially for volatile terrorists. Why did they let the guy in here to talk to Splosion Man? Big spoiler ahead. 17. Finally, the single worst plot hole is mentioned by the protagonists in the hospital. It turns out that there are a few exceptions to the government-mandated rule that injury excuses you from participation and you get a free pass. A temporary injury. The deadliest ruling in the entire US, and it comes with the easiest tax dodge that has ever existed. This is what ruined an already terrible book. Hours of reading stomach-curdling taboo instantly turned into complete nonsense with a mere mention. Completely canon too, so it's not even like you can just ignore the chapter. I don't care that there might be an explanation in the next book. This first one has absolutely destroyed my ability to like the series, and I find the idea of me reading the next one laughable. The story Unwind is another attempt by Shusterman to remind people of the fragile standard humans have for other humans. Unfortunately, the abortion topic is simply a trap, a seductive lure for the heartfelt reader. This story doesn't even have half of the effort put into the abortion topic or child mistreatment because it is too busy painting Shusterman's idea of a real dystopian tragedy, which sort of makes him sound more heartless than any of us. It's a shame. The story can be compelling at times, but it asks too often to turn off your brain so you enjoy the sadness and feel angry at the nature of society. But don't become a terrorist. Being a terrorist is bad. Finn. I'm glad I could get this off my chest. Seeing this series with any form of high rating was encouraging me to rampage. Thank you for reading seriously.